Messi. Messi. Oh my goodness. Balotelli. Aguero. Oh, that is extraordinary. What a head, son. What a head.
Back of the net.
It's not coming home. Gentlemen, we are back. It's the Not Upon It podcast. I'm Killeen Ginnity, and I'm delighted to be joined as ever by Conor Glennon, Nathan Byrne, and Robbie Redmond. Am I the only one that's just so happy?
Boys, the relief. I'll be honest with you. I think I would have gone into hiding. I don't know if I think pods would have been shelved for a couple of weeks. Jokes aside, it really is a massive relief. I became Spanish for the day.
Like I thought for a second that I had jinxed it. So in our group chat, Spain were 1-0 up. I put in, I reckon they could get another 2. 4, not like, was it 5 seconds later? Cole Palmer scored. It was the most devastating 30 seconds of my life, but then kind of Spain took a little bit more control again, and thankfully, after all of BBC's fucking laughing at Rodri be coming off and his replacement not going to be able to live up, Nate, they did take it home.
They did. Yeah, it was a bit of a weird one. It felt like Spain started off really strong, then sort of dipped in the middle of the game, went a bit flat, and then England got this burst of energy. I was a little bit worried when they equalised. I was like, okay, they've got the momentum now.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, that, like, to do it in the last minute, I don't think that could be better for us boys, could it? Like, just see their dreams snatched away. Like, yeah, I really.
The pure entertainment value of it. It was absolutely class. But Rob, just to kind of put it on England for a second, because I think it was a fine Spain performance and a bad England one. Is Harry Kane the most ineffectual striker that they could have brought to the tournament? He's very, very good, but my God, could he do nothing right at this tournament?
Yeah, like you always have to preface it. I'm a big Harry Kane fan. I think he's been brilliant. Everyone thinks he's been a great player, and I do think maybe with a strike partner with me could have been more effective, like the way he had Rashford or he had Sterling. But the guy was clearly injured, and he was absolutely useless. There was no point in him being on the pitch. Really, the England's only real spell in the match, and like I was never that worried. I know hindsight is great, but I just always thought Spain were much better. I was much more worried 3 years ago when they had Italy in the final at Wembley. Like, Italy weren't great, so that had me more worried. But I wasn't overly worried until they scored. But the spell they got was when Watkins come on, and I was just like, you just watching sometimes you think yourself, geez, football really can be just a simple game. Like, one guy is quicker than another guy, and that just makes Spain have to make different decisions. So, like, Watkins by being able to run, Cole Palmer by being able to find him with a pass or have a shot on goal, just changed the game. So, yeah, when you look at, like, it would be different if England hadn't got good players to replace him. And it would be different if they didn't have time to grow into the tournament. Like, it was obvious after the group stage that Kane was the best. At best, he was carrying an injury. At worst, he's in terminal decline. So
yeah, I think it's the legs are gone, because I'm really on the fence. Like, I think it might be a mixture of the two, that he had a bit of a knock, or it's been a long season. You know, he had a lot to prove this season, but for me, it's a bit of a Torres-y off a cliff moment.
I was literally just going to say, like, of all positions, strikers are the ones that have that cliff edge fall off, Nate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think, like, we sort of have to have a discussion about Kane, because it's getting to the point where the guy isn't unlucky. He is the unlucky part of the team. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know whether he just detracts from the way teams play or what, but, like, he literally cannot win a trophy to save.
But I think it's like, I really do think it's the players around him, Nate. Because, like, no, you look at Munich. He's got fast wingers on both sides coming through the channel. At Spurs, he had Son. Now, obviously, there's a question there in terms of, is he ruthless enough for a trophy? But I do think, to give him a bit of credit, he can still bang in good goals. I know he didn't do it well at this tournament, but he is in a system that doesn't suit him in England. I don't know about you, Robbie.
Yeah, I think he's been unlucky with that. He did play for Tottenham, and he got them to finals and Champions League finals again, where he wasn't fit and shouldn't have played. like Bayern Munich, that's a freak season. That like one in every 20 years, something like that might happen. So I think from that perspective, he's been unlucky. But with England and even here, like even if he was fully fit, I just don't think they would have beaten Spain. And but if you do watch it, England were undoubtedly better without him. And in the past, you could easily say that, well, it's not his fault that Spurs didn't win the Champions League, or even though he was probably wasn't fit in that final, or it's not his fault that Spurs didn't win the Premier League. But in this match, I suppose you could make a claim that England scored without him on the pitch, so England were much better for his absence because Spain just he might as well not even been there. So the Spanish defenders didn't even consider him a threat because they knew they could just push up, and he's not going to be able to outrun any of them, and he wasn't able to outmuscle any of them either. That was the other thing. He just looked physically frail, and this is where it comes back to Southgate. Like, I know he gets a lot of stick, but a player like Harry Kane's never going to say, "Listen, I'm not at full fitness today." He's not going to do that. That's up to Southgate, and he bottled it. Basically, it was the right decision. The fact that he can't come off after 57 minutes shows it was the right decision, but we'll never know if he had started with Watkins. But I do think Spain had another gear to go, and I think they would have won anyway. That would be my opinion on it. But yeah, it'll be interesting now with Kane because it just hasn't worked for him as well at club level. Sorry, Killian.
My views actually changed on him. I can't lie, because like I'm starting to think, does he can score all the goals he wants and stuff, but does his actual overall play in the team and how he's positioned in the team actually like like brings down everyone else in the pitch?
I don't
Like, that's
think
how
so.
I'm starting to think, because like listen, there was a stat yesterday where he moved to Germany. He's lost 5 out of 5 trophies since he's been there. Like at
I
some
think
point,
that's
we got to be
unfair, mate.
having a discussion like how he fits into teams, and not just how good he is at scoring goals.
Up
I
until
do, I
this
do, I
tournament,
do,
sorry, Connor.
I do think just on the England one before we move on to Bayern Munich, I think his key problem this tournament, even take out having a knock or the legs going on him, is his inability to get in behind. You know, like that.
Yeah.
Like that is why Watkins worked. That's why Tony worked. It relieved the midfield, gave him more space. So, like, I would. I don't know what the future holds for Harry Kane in terms of an international career. Like, let's face it, he will be at that World Cup. But like, I think they either need, if they're going to keep him in that team as a starting player, they need to adapt to him.
Yeah, I think he's always been a team player now. I actually think he's always made every team better. I really do. I think, look, you look at Son, he played great football, and like he was brilliant in Tottenham. This is the first time where I think we can say he's made a team worse. And yeah, like we don't know if this is it now for him, or is it actually just a blip? Is it a bad injury? But I do think the way they're set up as well, with like their wide players, Saka was further away because you're playing like as a natural winger, and then you have Foden coming inside, and he didn't have Rashford or
And your
Sterling.
defenders playing in midfield, like Killian. Like,
Yeah.
are you on Nate's side of the camp? Are you on ours? Or are you indifferent?
I think Nate is right in terms of England. I think this is kind of like Ronaldo at Man United territory. For what he adds to the team, it's actually worse off. And I think it ultimately goes down to a square peg in a round hole. Like, I would much rather a player that fits the system you're trying to play than trying to squeeze in a name. And I think this is where Southgate is way too political for his own good. He knows that the press would have been on him if Kane didn't start, despite the fact that everybody could see that Kane is either not fit or not right for it, whatever it may be, or a combination of both. It does not take as many games as they had to figure out that maybe this isn't working, because we were saying it after the first one. Like, he was practically trying to play defensive midfield at one stage. I messaged into our WhatsApp. I was pretty sure England had a centre forward on their graphic because he was playing there. Why was Foden on the beyond the penalty spot closest to where the wide person was trying to cross in? And why was Kane at the edge of the box at like the little semicircle? Like,
But it goes back to what we were
what
saying in
do
previous
we
pods.
pay him for?
There's no system, you know.
Well, I don't think that's a system thing. Kane does this in every team he's in. It's a repeatable thing that we're seeing. He does it on Spurs, where with the memes, always the quarterback. You know what I mean? But mate, you're a striker, and I'm not having the thing where it's like he doesn't have the pace to get in behind and stuff. He's not even trying. Like,
I think
I
it's
think
different
that's
though
harsh.
when you have a system that works around somebody like that.
Yeah, he
Like
needs people to run off him. Like he hasn't got anyone doing that. You've just all English players playing hero ball. All them Jude Bellingham taking 400 touches so the cameras can get a shot of him before he passes it. Foden trying to come in field. Like he doesn't have anyone to run off him. There's no like Joey, like there's no vertical runs or anything from any of the players on the pitch, and also they couldn't really get the ball. I think it's harsh on Kane. I really do. I think there's been a little bit of it, like he's turned to a scapegoat when I would say Southgate is by far more culpable, and
Why?
and then there's other players like Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's a terrible defender. Like he's a terrible defender, and I seen a clip of Jack Grealish saying would Thierry Henry get the better of him. I'm like, what? Of course he would. Like, like
Take pace away from Kyle Walker, and I'd be interested to see what he's
like
like.
his pace has done even then has done nothing for him. The both goals came down that side. He played in it was a Slovakia match. He played the striker 5 yards onside. Like there's plenty of blame to go around. I think Kane's getting too much of it because he is still England captain. He is still the type of player who can he can get a goal. I don't think it's Ronaldo's levels where Ronaldo was really shooting from corners and goal kicks to try to get a shot on target. I think Kane is just he's a player going through a bad spell, and I don't think he's at fault. I think Southgate is definitely more at fault than and a few other players I pin the blame on before him.
just because while you mentioned Walker there, I did say it in our episode before the final that I thought Carvajal coming back in the team would make a bit of a difference. And I think Carvajal shows the difference between a defender that can defend and a defender that is like quick and has reasonable positioning.
Yeah,
Like he was so good attacking and defensively. Like
and
he
Cucurella as well. He sets up the goal, and it goes back to like who's England's like best passer of the ball, like Trent Alexander-Arnold, but he gets criticised because he quote can't defend. Well, Kyle Walker can't really defend either, and then you've players like Southgate is about to bring on Conor Gallagher, who I don't think can actually really play football.
Who
Like
was he coming on
it's
for though?
terrible. Like
Because
he's like
but
that's
like
it.
genuinely, like it was the only person that could have possibly have been was Foden because he's not going to take off Bellingham.
He was playing for penalties, like after 70 or 80 minutes, wherever it might have been. Like so, probably even sooner. So I think Kane is. I think it should be Southgate basically to focus on.
On the Walker stuff, I actually think he's got a bit of a hard rep just purely because Saka was not tracking at all that game. Like not one bit. He was not coming back one bit.
But was he told to stay up?
I don't know. Like when I watched particularly was it the first goal? Yeah, Lamal whipped it over. Like the Saka was miles up the pitch, and I'm like, even if Saka pushed back that bit, Kyle Walker would have been further back. So I don't know. It just
All
seems like
tournament, all tournament. I don't know about that high press because they only play the high press when they're 1-0 down, and when they do that, they play good football. But like, does no one in that team in the dressing room go, okay, we may not like what Garrett's doing, but the only time we're playing well is when we're chasing the game. So why don't we just bloody do that? Like,
I think
Like-
the word high press is a bit generous.
England have been so lucky. Like a roll of a dice, and they would have been nowhere near the final. Like they scraped through and got very, very lucky in that semi-final to get through. Like this is a team that has stuck with practically the same spine since the last Euros, just because Gareth Southgate likes them. Like there's no justification for him to stay on. Like he was the best paid manager at the Euros, and probably did the least amount of work. Like his subs in the last two games were good. That's pretty much all I can say.
like I think Shearer summed it up the best. And look, I know not all of us love Shearer as a pundit, but he was like England were a moments team. That's all they were. You know, they came in with a couple of clutch moments when they needed to, whether it was Bellingham's Bicey or Watkins, you know, or plenty more throughout the tournament that they, like you said, they just scraped it in. And I think all of us got a bit carried away going into that final, thinking, putting all those moments together, going, oh, we might have a team here. But, you know, apart from that semi final was probably the first half of the semi-final was probably the best football they played all tournament. Maybe the first half of their very first game. Outside that, there was nothing.
No. For me, the moment that really got it for me was when they had the spell, and I really do. I really did feel Spain were still going to win it because they're just better footballers. But they had a throw in the 76th minute, and Kyle Walker had about 5 players in the box he could have thrown it to, and he flings it back about 35 yards to John Stones. John Stones kicks it back to Pickford, and it's a Spain goal kick. I think Pickford just hoops up the pitch as hard as he can, and Spain just take a breather, take control of the game, and then they basically had another 3 shots on target, and I don't think England even touched the ball in Spain's half again after that. So we're going back, like, the Arab moments team. If you're ever going to win it, it was going to be a penalty. I think penalties or a fluke or a free kick or something. But the reason why they're not winning is they can't put it all together. And I think a lot of it does come back to Southgate, but a lot of it comes back to as well is, like, for me, and it sounds harsh, like, intelligent footballers. Like, the Spanish players are just better footballers, like, particularly in midfield, and they're able to control games more. England just got, like, rush of blood to the head when they did do well, and even Southgate with his subs, like, it's kind of hard for him to make a bad sub given how good the players are. Like, he probably had the best squad in the tournament, and he could bring on Watkins, Tony, Palmer, like Anthony Gordon. Didn't even get on, like Bowen. These are all really effective players, but he's just never really used them properly. I don't think, other than in the semis, and it definitely goes back to just not being able to control the game. And then even last night, you're looking at BBC or ITV, more so BBC, and they're just talking about England. Why didn't England win? More pain for England. I'm like, lads, there's 2 teams in this match. Spain are infinitely better than you, better at football than you guys, and you're lucky to get that far.
One of the
basically.
things I have to say, like, whatever anybody thinks about him, about his personality or anything like that, Nate, it kind of goes back to something that you had said a long time ago about Onana. Pickford has Onana syndrome. Like, he gets a bad rap, but he was very effective. And yes, he did concede 2 goals, but how many shots did he save? Like, if it wasn't for him, it genuinely could have been a 3 or a 4 goal lead that they had. I think it's, of anybody, I think he's the one that should come away with a little bit of credibility here.
Yeah, I thought he's good. Not a fault for particularly any goal, really. Yeah, like, to be honest, I don't think much troubled him last night. Like, the game was a bit meh for a huge portion of it, particularly, like, nothing really stands out big. But yeah, like, I just think he's a solid goalkeeper. Like, I don't think he'll ever really move on from Everton up to the higher echelons, but I don't think he's gonna go lower either. I think he'll probably retire there. But yeah, I just think solid performance, and he'll be England #1 until someone comes and knocks him off that perch, which will have to be a world class goalkeeper.
Well, he's just so deeply unlikable, though. Like, I find it so hard to look past my hatred of him to actually see the footballing talent. And I know,
That
as
hit
a
more
as a
protected centre mid.
podcaster, we should be able to look past things like that. But he's just so deeply unlikable.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he's so jittery, isn't he? Like, why is he lumping the ball? Every time I looked at him, he was hoofing the ball. I know it's under instruction, but it was just like, it's like watching Ireland back under Jack Charlton or Mick McCarthy or something. He's just hoofing the ball up the pitch, and he's, I don't think he's the type of person you want like that in the trenches with you, or when you're in this situation when you need calm heads, because
I think he
definitely doesn't have
is.
a calm head. That's the best
Like,
thing to say
Really?
about him.
yeah, I think he doesn't really go wrong. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he won't give you a howler. He won't, like, it's just like a safe pair of hands. Like, to be honest, I don't
100%.
see any issue with him. Like,
I
He's
think we'll have to mute Killian's mic because he's a Pickford stan long timer.
Yeah, but like he's just very effective. He's just one of them guys you don't have to think about. And like, I think with him with the hoofing now, he has a good hoof on him, but I think it just again proves how ineffectual Gareth Southgate is, because you have one end of the pitch trying to play like good football, but with wingers that are playing as if they were going to have a target man in there, and then the so-called target man or centre forward is trying to play defensive midfield, and then you have a keeper that's trying to huff it up long, and then you have wing backs that are trying to overlap. Like, none of it is making sense together. And speaking about who will be the England #1, well, the real #1 is the manager, and I think Southgate has to go. And if he does go, Connor,
did you?
do you think you could lose another key man at Newcastle?
Oh, like, this is like the Pickford thing where I can't see past a certain thing. Like, the idea of us losing our director of football and a manager, I can't even process, because that had put us back so far in the project. But even on the manager, like, one thing that, like, again, not a pundit that we adore on this podcast, Jamie Carragher, he had a fairly decent point. He was like, Sven played 4-4-2, Fabio is too strict, Gareth is too defensive. Funny how it's always the manager. The fact is our big players didn't turn up in this tour, and other tournaments going back years. Like, what do you think, Nate?
I thought Carragher was funny last night. He then goes on to ruin his point by saying that the ceiling for these players aren't much higher, and I'm like, are you mental? Like, no wonder we're blaming the manager because the tactics were horrendous. Like, honestly, I don't know how you watch that tournament and come out with that opinion. Like, are you trying to save face for some friends there or something? Like, it was, yeah, I don't understand his points there. I think England have a lot of managers that make a lot more sense that they could go for.
Like,
Um,
who are you saying?
I think Eddie Howe's a good show. Steve Bruce, my boy. No, I'm joking. I
He
think
couldn't even
like
play for England.
if I'm them, I'm maybe making a play for Klopp. Like honestly,
A German as the England manager? I just can't see it.
if
Scouse
you
German.
if the USA are trying to get Jurgen Klopp,
Double whammy.
the England national team should be.
I'd say the USA's pitch for Klopp.
But it's such a cushy job that like I'm like it'd be sort of a no brainer if you could put it to the side that he's
I
German.
can't see Klopp. Like England, England have a manager who's great at everything other than other than the football. Like he's great at press conferences. He's great at the players. All love him. Gets all that element of it. So you have that down. You just need an actual coach now. And like the closest I can think of to him would be Graham Potter because
Another one of Killian Stands.
yeah, he's quite good on. He's good tactically, as you saw at the clubs he's been at, and he's similar to Southgate in how he kind of speaks and deals with the media. And I think
Do you think that's a hard sell to England fans, though?
So boring.
yeah, I think anyone is like nearly other than it would be Klopp or something like that. But yeah, I think a lot of it with Southgate is like I don't last night I'm not even too strict on him or hard on him for this tournament. For me, I always go back. They just blew it at Wembley in 2021, and he should have left then because they were 1-0 up against Italy at Wembley. Like, what more do you need to win a trophy? So that was the chance for me, and now I think he'll just walk and do it gracefully. But it would be someone. Howe is proven. I think Howe is definitely a step up on him. But I'd probably.
But what I don't understand
Howe.
with the How one, for him, like, obviously it's a job he'd want, but like, he's not an old man. Like, you take the England job, you don't really go back to club coaching.
Yeah, I think he probably would if he does a great job. He will, or even a really good job. Like Gareth Southgate's definitely more employable now than when he took over the job. Maybe he's thinking as well. He's not gonna if Newcastle aren't
Yeah.
getting money that they hope that they would get. That there's nowhere else from. This is as far as he's gonna go unless like who else will come in from none of the top four. Probably not Tottenham. So
we
maybe this will
we
be
need
the
a
best
bit of
shot for him.
personality in the England hot seat. I think. Like, I'm a bit bored. Like I need someone to generate some headlines. Like, give us something to talk about when things hit the fan and stuff like that. Like, it's just really really boring. And if I'm How, I'm personally going to England because. And I don't mean to offend you here, Connor. I don't know what that Newcastle build is going on there personally. So, I'd probably be going to England.
The wheels aren't falling off on us yet, but they're getting a bit squeaky.
Yeah, for last one from me is like if England were to get a good manager, it would be a bit like when Liverpool got Klopp, and as a United fan, I was like, oh no, like he's actually good. Like this isn't Hodgson. Like this is a really good coach. Like I still think England are lacking in certain players, but if they get a really top coach, then you will be worried because they do have such a depth of squad of players. So yeah, that would be a worry. But How I think has proven himself to be.
What are you saying, Kieran?
Kind of,
Well, I'm looking at some of the odds, and Potter is odds-on favourite, and I think he'd be astute. My only concern about him is how would he deal with the pressure of like leaving out players, because he is one of them kind of coaches that is he prefers a team that's better than the sum of its parts, and that is ultimately the problem with England. And I think the difference with England versus a club team is kind of saw it with him at Chelsea. He couldn't quite deal with the extra pressure of like, why aren't you playing that player? And they didn't quite do that well with the questioning of it. And with England, that's all there is. It's always questioning. You were never going to make the right decision. You kind of want somebody that's going to stand up a little bit more to that. But like Lee Carsley and Eddie Howe are both second and third. Pochettino was 8-1. Thomas Tuchel 12-1. Frank Lampard is 20-1. Like,
Jesus, that's
let's
when you
be
know
honest.
there's not many in the running though. When like Frank Lampard's name gets brought up, you're like, okay, we're scraping the barrel here. Like
But you can kind of see it happening. Like
Stevie G next, like
Stevie
Well,
G's
just on the money front,
3-1.
boys. On the money front, like Howe's on 6 million up in the town. Klopp was on 15 at Liverpool.
Mm.
You know,
But it's also like a part-time job.
yeah.
Like, just looking at some of the other ones here, Stevie G is 33-1. Michael Carrick 33-1. Brendan Rodgers is 40-1. Now he, I think, would be an astute signing. Like, he'd be kind of a little bit like Potter, but I think he has that weird arrogance, the David Brent energy to actually make some
The
decent
politics of a ex Celtic manager being the England manager wouldn't happen.
It'd be class though. But like some of the like wilder suggestions, Marcelo Bielsa 50-1, Gary O'Neill 50-1, Moyes 50-1, Ancelotti's only 66-1. And one thing with
he's a
Carlo
shout.
is like, never write him off for any position.
He did turn down Brazil,
England's
so-
still Europe though. Like England's, if that's where he wants to be based, like, but like I've just sort of been thinking about it, the way England fans are, and to be fair to them, like I'll give it some England fans some compliments here. Like, it's the way they are. It's like they really got behind Southgate, and he's a very boring manager. And I'm like, if you put anyone in there with a bit of spice, like I think that could elevate the team in terms of like it's us versus you sort of mentality. You know
Siege
what I mean?
mentality, yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like they need someone like that's willing to go out and say stuff and like cause a bit of a stir. Like I think that could actually be a play that elevates England.
Yeah. Now, we're not just for going after managers and all this. We are willing to put our necks on the line, and we did so with the Euros. We did actually go and predict the Euros. We did a whole episode, and if you haven't listened to that,
God.
it's probably no point listening to it now. We're going to go over it. So, gentlemen, how are we feeling? Is there any kind of predictions you remember kind of going and thinking kind of like, oh, actually, that was quite good?
There was, well, good no, but there was a couple of ones that I went hard over head in the groups that I don't think will have come to roost. The one I was surprised at personally, I had Germany to get to the final, and I really think they could have done better this tournament. Outside of that, there's nothing too alarming in terms of the good predictions. What about you boys?
Oh, I think I've had a few stinkers here. Like I'm not gonna lie, but I don't think it's my fault. Like I think the tournament was just terrible. Like so, if it was a normal tournament, I think I would have been spot on. But we'll see how bad it was.
Right. So Group A, nobody got it right.
Good stuff. Great start.
We were all pretty close, but we all put Hungary down the bottom, and Hungary finished third. So it was Germany, Switzerland,
Jesus.
Hungary, and Scotland. And we all had basically swapped Scotland and Switzerland. We thought we'd either be second or third. So not too great there, but we did get Germany correct. We can all take a little bit of heart in that. Group B finished Spain, Italy, Croatia, and Albania. And Connor got it right,
Yuppa!
and Nate got it right.
Oh,
Mondo boys.
Rob, you got Croatia second and Italy third.
that one was a bit ropey though. To be fair, that one didn't like Italy were close to going out.
Yeah, well, they were on 4 points and Croatia was on 2. Like, it was a win, lose, and a draw, so it wasn't great. But I got the most wrong. I said Croatia, Spain, and Italy. So there's ropey, and then there's the whole rope.
Right, Group C, what are we saying?
So it finished England, Denmark, Slovenia, and Serbia bottom with only 2 points.
My boys let me down.
And we all got this one kind of wrong. The closest was Connor and Rob. England, Denmark, Serbia, and Slovenia. So it just you at least got England and Denmark right.
Yeah.
I had said Serbia would come second, and so did Nate. So
Jesus.
Group D finished, and this we all got this one wrong. We all got this one wrong. Austria, France, Netherlands, and Poland.
Well, I mean, that, like, honestly, no one could have scripted that. Like, Ralph pulled off an absolute Ralph special.
Um,
That's what wrecked the whole tournament. Actually, France going in, not wrecked it, but France should have been on the other side, on the England side of the draw, and because they messed up against Poland, they went on.
like the one that I'd say kind of came closest, just by getting Poland in the right position, is Rob. You at least had Poland last. Yeah. Other than that, we were just all. I had Poland come second, so
Yeah, what were you thinking there, Killian?
I thought the Netherlands would be much worse. Group E. Now, again, none of us got this right because nobody could have predicted this. Romania topped it.
Was this the one where everyone got 4 points?
Everybody got 4 points.
Yeah.
So we can take a gentle kind of loss here.
The shithouse group.
Romania, Belgium, Slovakia, and Ukraine.
Can we just talk about that Belgium team for a second, lads? Like I know, Nate. I must profusely apologise that we even put them in the top echelons of the sweepstakes after your major protest, and you were damn right. But
I
like,
stand by it.
what is going on over there? Like, I know De Bruyne had acted like a child when he was asked about the golden generation, and the timing of the question was poor. But like, you really have to look at that team and the possibilities that team had, and for multiple tournaments for the last 10 years, and they've absolutely faffed it every time.
Can't remember who said it, but someone said it was the more you think about Belgium now, it was always just Eden Hazard.
Yeah,
It was
Lukaku
always
though,
just
you
Eden Hazard.
De Bruyne, like they.
Even Axel Witsel turned up on the international stage. Like, and at one stage they did have good defenders and a good keeper, and like they had lots of good individuals, and nothing could bring them together to make it work.
Sounds like England.
Yeah. Chocolate England. Group F. Who got it right? Nobody got this one right. We were all pretty close though. It finished Portugal, Turkey, Georgia, and Czech Republic. And we all put Georgia bottom. So fair play, Willie Sagnol. Connor, I have to say you were the one that was most wrong here. Czech Republic to finish second.
I mean, it's one of those teams you can never really sleep on them, but you never know what they're going to do at the same time.
Yeah, not great. So then we go on to the knockout stages. So the round of 16 is kind of just there's a lot happening there. So we'll go on to our quarterfinals.
Yeah.
So what there actually was Spain versus Germany. Both Connor and Rob got that. Now part of this would have been down to third place and seconds and what side of the draw and all that was going to be. So we're not going to give you too much credit. And it's not particularly your decision. And Nate, you also got that one. I was the only one that didn't. I thought it was going to be Germany versus Croatia. Then Portugal versus France. You had Portugal, Netherlands. I had Portugal. Nate actually got Portugal versus France as well.
Jesus, doing well, kid.
He goes wrong for the next ones. Netherlands, Turkey. Nobody had that.
Sure, no one had Turkey going that far. Not a chance.
No.
I still stand by that Austria-Turkey game was possibly the game of the tournament, outside the semis.
Yeah, absolutely. England versus Switzerland. Did anybody have that? No, they didn't. There was an England versus Croatia, Spain versus England. I did predict Spain would beat England, but I thought it'd be 2-0 in the quarters. So just gonna have that said.
So we get to the semis.
Semis. It had Spain versus France. I had Spain versus France. And then it was Netherlands versus England, which Nate had.
Wow. Now, fair play to you on that one.
Yeah, we don't know the answer.
This is where it all falls apart. Connor, do you remember who your final was?
Germany, France, and I said Germany on penalties, I think.
No, you said France on penalties.
Oh, okay.
Rob, do you remember your final?
I said
You
1-0
did.
France.
I thought it'd be France versus Portugal. with a France victory. And Nate, do you remember yours?
Portugal versus Netherlands.
And who did you say was going to win?
Portugal.
Lads, we're gonna have to disband the pod after that. Now that's just there's a level of bad results there that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, but like we didn't know England were gonna get like the walkthrough of a century. Like,
I think this is where Rob's point comes in, is that France, Didier Deschamps ruined everything by just being really bad against a really bad Poland team. If they just didn't mess up there, we all would have been a whole lot better off.
Possibly my favorite quote in the history of the pod is, "He's a football terrorist. I want t-shirts, I want hoodies, I want hats."
I am happy France didn't win though.
He is.
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
say,
That is the good
Kylian Mbappe was very, very underwhelming this tournament.
Do you think it was all that's gone on at PSG, and like he's obviously got Madrid in one part of his head, and just kind of it all got a bit much for him, kind of having to be literally carry that nation on his shoulders, or do you think it was the broken nose, bit of both, neither?
I think there's a few things. I think I said at the start he was the one that was like, we need him to step up and be much better than he has been. I think he's regressed as a footballer playing for PSG. He's wasted 7 years of his career playing there. Like, he only plays when the ball gets passed to him. You know that way. Like, he's not really a factor. Otherwise, he was good in the semis against Spain, but to me, it kind of confirmed that he's the most talented player in the world, because he's so talented. Obviously, Messi
Of the
is,
new
but
breed,
let's say
yeah.
in Europe anyway. Yeah, he's the most talented, and he's so good, and when he wants to be. But I don't think he's developed into a fully formed footballer, if that makes sense. He's not involved enough for me. And I know he broke his nose and the team played terrible, but he just would have liked to see a lot more from him. And maybe under a new manager you would, because obviously the guy is so
I don't
talented.
understand why he signed that second contract at PSG, because it's not a money thing. Like, he could have got that money anywhere, you know?
I think it was a money thing. Like the amount of money he got was ridiculous. Like,
Oh, like, I know he was
You know
on
what
like
I
the
mean?
guts of
Like-
$1 million a week, but like, you know, this Madrid deal, yeah, on paper he earns 300 grand a week, but he got to sign an on bonus of 150 million pound. You know what I mean? So when you average that out, it's nigh on the same.
See, I think the second contract was more of a political thing. It cemented his status in France, which cemented his status across half of Africa.
Fair.
So, like, I think it was more about that. Yes, the money was just a lovely little sweetener. But,
Yeah.
like, when you have the president of France calling you to make sure you don't move,
plus the Guitar World Cup and Guitar on in PSG and stuff. Like, there was a
Yeah.
lot of political.
Yeah, you forget about that, actually.
But he's been so successful monetizing his career, but I think you're seeing, like, he's 25, 26 now. Like, Messi, there's no one questioning Messi at that stage of his career. Like, and he has the talent to be, maybe not at Messi's level, but to be the player of his generation. And you're just watching this tournament going, he's just standing out on the wing waiting for someone to pass him the ball. Then he'll spring into life, but otherwise, he's just
Is he the
kind of
new
like
Neymar?
half a player. I just
Oh, yeah.
without the stinking attitude. But Neymar was without the stinking attitude. Even though he is a bit, he does seem
Lads,
like a
I'm
bit
gonna
of a
go
diva.
nuclear here, right? And
Oh,
gone are the days of superstar players, in my opinion. In terms,
No, look
But-
at
but,
Yamal. I
that's
don't know.
like-
I don't know.
what I'm saying is, in terms of
Or-
players might perform really well over a tournament, over a season, but I just think where football is now, where we're so dependent on systems, it can chop and change so much. I just don't think we're going to be at the point where we see players tearing it up for like 4 or 5 years in a row. I think football's in a quite a stale place where
No.
you'll see players take off. Oh, he's doing really well this season. He's doing really well that season. But I think when managers and teams get found out and stuff like that, I think that will die down for a period and come back. I just think football's a lot different than a couple of years ago.
I don't think you're completely wrong. I think I think you're right in the systems thing, but I think and like we've seen in this tournament, like, did anyone think Olmo would be one of the players of the tournament? No, but
I love that man.
oh,
He
he
just
is,
took
I
such
love
a
that guy.
different route at things, like going via Dynamo. Like, absolutely legendary.
His release clause ends on the 20th, so someone could snap him up. And they extended the release clause, so the club obviously want to shift him. But in terms of superstar players, like I know Lamine Yamal is only 17, and look, it may not pan out the way everyone thinks it's gonna. But I think with guys like him, Jude Bellingham, Palmer's, even Kobe Mainoo's. Obviously I'm going England heavy on that one. There's, you've got Pedri, Gavi. Will they be your Zidanes and your Tottis and your that level? Maybe not, but they're still gigantic superstars.
Mm.
Well, your Pedri, like what he's out with an AC, or he's out. He can't get fit to save his life because he's been playing too young. You've
Yeah.
got Gavi that's done his ACL this season. Like if they're not careful, Yamal's destined for the same stuff where he's overplayed at a young age, and I don't like this point where we're at where people are getting brought in super young and just run into the ground.
I think where football is actually really missing, though, not on the superstars and anything. I think we have enough superstars. Everybody's commercialized. We don't have enough stars. We don't have the mid-table teams having some random absolute like we don't. We won't have another JJ Okocha at Bolton again. Where you
Dimitri Payet.
yeah, like even him or Sessegnon when he was at Sunderland or
Ben Arfa at Newcastle.
Letitia at Southampton, where you just had these absolute ballers playing in a team that they had no business being in, that would just light up the crowd. Now it's just all very.
I think it's the money because I think back in the year of even Ben Arfa and Dimitri Payet, the money was still insane when you compare it to any normal job. But if you're an Endrick, you're going to go for that Madrid contract. Yes, you're going to an amazing team with an amazing manager, but these kids, a lot of whom come out of very poor circumstances, they don't look at as a I'll go to a Southampton and build myself. They just want to go straight to the top, earn as much as they can, and if the career pans out, it does or it doesn't. They'll have made enough bag by the time it doesn't.
It's just lamentable that it's a business and not
Yeah.
not not a sport or not an entertainment. Like that was Letitia. One of his early conspiracy was that football was for entertainment and fun, not for money. Which
Well, it's such a shame he became an absolute loon.
it was a conspiracy he was also wrong on, as he normally is now. Makes you think.
Payet, what a player! I remember him. Unreal. He every time he stood over a free kick, you're like top ends. That is like, oh, if only he stayed.
Yeah, it's just we've been robbed of them kind of stars. We just all I want back is stars, not superstars.
Well, you look at that Madrid team, and it's a football manager job. That's as close to the Galacticos as they're ever going to get again. They keep adding to it.
Is there any
ridiculous.
current stars in the Premier League that you think play for Leicester team and turn up like?
That's hard, actually.
um,
Are we when we say stars, do we mean they could walk into any team in the world?
No, I'm talking like this fella like runs like Jack Grealish at Aston Villa runs the show.
Elise was, and
Yeah.
Eze's very good. Bowen's very
Bowen's
good.
I don't think Bowen's. I love
He counts.
Jared Bowen, but he's not. I wouldn't say he'd walk into any team.
Yeah.
Paqueta.
Lucas Paqueta.
Yeah, sure. He's got his gambling problems now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bruno Fernandes. Joker.
Like Matoma for a while looked like he could have been.
There was a couple of Brighton heads that looked like the kind of that kind of level of player, but it's actually a great question.
Bruno Guimaraes.
I love him dearly, but again,
He for a while he looked like he was.
yeah, but I don't. Again, he wouldn't walk into any team in the world.
See, I don't think it necessarily needs to be walking into any team, but it's just one of them kind of players that's a level above of where he is, and just kind of.
Well, then
lights up
Bruno's
the
definitely
pitch.
there. Bruno's the best player we have, and we'll be lucky to hold on to him because of our FFP issues.
Yeah, but I mean, even maybe counting like a Pedro Neto at Wolves, where it's just one of them kind of players. They get the ball, and you're like, yeah.
But they always get that. I think the thing is, they always get eaten up within a season or two. Where before these players would have lasted at a club for 4 or 5 years and then moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I struggle to even list two. Like,
But gentlemen, listing more Premier League players is what we will be getting back to very, very soon, as that is our summer tournament finished. How have we felt about Euro 2024? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Look, I mean, it's been in ways it's been a very meh tournament. Like we said before, what my takeout from it is the emergence of young talent across Europe. I always love tournament football, whether even when the football isn't as good as you hope it to be, it's still great to have it on. So I wouldn't say it was a thumbs down. It's thumbs up for me, but could have been a lot better. Nate, I think I know where you're gonna go with this one.
thumbs down. I honestly found it a bit boring. I thought like there's 4 or 5 standout games, but other than that, I thought it's a bit meh. I'm personally ready to get back into the Premier League season. But yeah, to me, it was. Let's just say if I could do it, like I could say, I could do without that tournament happening.
I go thumbs up because Spain won it, but other than that, thumbs down. It wasn't. It was a poor tournament, I think, compared to the last couple of ones. And as I said to you guys already, I think the structure of it is broken, but it's been redeemed by Spain winning it a little bit. And I'm not overly looking forward to club football. I think there's way too much football on. I actually like the way the international teams work, and you have to just pick the players you have available to you. But I'm sure I'll get back
I'll get back into it as long as Eddie Howe is at the helm. If I give up on the season otherwise. Yeah. What about you, Killian? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I would give it a thumbs up, but like at an angle. Like it's somewhere in between. I'm glad it happened, but I'm also glad it's over. Yeah, like I'm excited to see what transfers and all are going to come up. I have to say everything's more fun in the championship. So I have that to look forward to, and yeah, hopefully we don't just see another boring summer where we're talking more about accountants than we are.
I think it is going to be that, man. I think it's going to be another summer of financial gymnastics where you have to sell to buy and you defer payments, and that's the big one for me. That with FFP, it's killed the mad spending that makes transfer windows fun. You know?
Well, isn't it great that we have a load of interviews lined up from all around the world, so we're not going to have to focus too much on the accountants of your league nor charges at all. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll chat to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Messi. Oh my goodness! Balotelli. Aguero.